Welcome to episode 18 of Marathon Talk, powered by Abbott World Marathon Majors. And on this week's show, we've some sad news about a Boston Marathon icon. There's a change to the name of indoor athletics. There's a look ahead to one of the world's most iconic races, two marathon fundraising efforts with a twist, and Deena is joined by age group runner Wayne Spies, 10 times Comrades finisher and 6-star finisher, taking part in the 2023 Abbott World Marathon Majors World Champs in Chicago in October later this year. Deena, what have you been doing since we last recorded?
Oh, wow. Well, I've boringly been sitting in front of the computer writing a speech, an important speech for later this year. But on our last show, I said I was going out to Santa Cruz Island, and I was able to do that. My daughter and I took a ferry ride over to Santa Cruz Island, 30 miles off the Santa Barbara coast. It's one of 5 islands that make up the Channel Islands National Park, and it was unbelievable. On the boat ride out there, we saw 2 humpback whales. When we docked, we saw 2 bald eagles. Then as we went on this big hike on the bluffs, we turned this corner and there was a little island fox in front of us. It's the only place in the world, this fox. It went from, I think, first a regular size fox, but over evolutionary time, it became this smaller version about the size of a house cat. And it was an incredible day. I highly recommend it to anybody in California to head out there.
Did you stay over? Did you go, is it only a day trip thing? Is there accommodation and things? How does that work?
There are campgrounds. And so next time we will definitely spend more days out there because there was so much to explore and see. You could go kayaking out there, scuba diving, snorkeling. So next time we're going to bring our snorkel gear and our tent and make sure we spend a little more time out there. I cannot wait to get back out.
Oh, what a lovely thing to do. And was it just the 2 of you?
It was just the 2 of us on a well-needed vacation. We had a tough week and so just went out there and it was just the reset that we needed. It was just awesome.
Yeah, how lovely. Spending lovely time together, with your, I've got 3 children, I love to spend time with them. It's really important that we do that. So good for you for taking her out and seeing some amazing wildlife, connecting with nature and helping our children see what's out in the world and teaching them how to protect it. And it's so important, isn't it?
It sure is. And I actually can't wait to run out there. There were so many runnable trails. So next time I'll definitely make sure I bring my running water bottle with me and really explore. The island is 22 miles long. So you can get in some good running there. And you're running. You have been so committed, Martin.
Well,
tell us how your running's going.
I've got a fox. Do you want a fox story?
Yes.
Because you brought foxes up, so I can raise your fox story, but you might not like it.
I'm going to love it. I love nature stories.
Okay, maybe not this one. So, do you like baby foxes?
Yes.
Great. Do you like them alive?
Of course.
Do you know where this is going?
No.
Oh, dear.
Did you watch a hawk or something grab a baby fox?
Well, no, we heard a commotion.
Oh,
at night, and we came out of the house in the following morning, and there, unfortunately, it was a bit odd. There was the body of a baby fox on the drive.
Dear Lord.
Without its head.
Martin, how could you possibly share this story?
Its head was about 1 meter away. So the 2...
Martin, we now need a discllaimer before this show. If you have a queasy stomach, be advised.
You wanted a fox story. You saw a lovely little wild cat-sized fox. I saw a baby fox without its head. I mean,
this is nature,
it's not
folks.
Ideal, but I don't know what happened. But obviously, it wasn't good. And I actually Googled it, and sometimes you see that it happens. I don't know why. So these are like urban foxes. Then there's quite a lot of them that live around where we live. So there must have been a cub, and something must have gone on. And do you know what else? So this is my second fox story.
You Googled it and it just happens. It just happens. Baby foxes lose their heads.
I got 2 fox stories.
Let's hear a better one.
I don't think the 2 are related. This is my other fox story. I was driving my van. Today, driving my van, and a little light starts coming on. like an oil warning light for a sensor, an oil sensor warning light. I'm like, what that's all about? So I phoned my friend at the garage and he goes, spin it round, we'll take a look. So he raises it up on his ramp and he goes underneath it and he says, come and look at this. So I went, all right, okay. And I went underneath and he said, look at that. See that cable up there? It's been gnawed through. He said, foxes chew through those cables. I'm not making this up. And I'm not making it up at all. I don't know.
And this is your camper van, so it could have happened on any trip that you've been on.
Well, I don't know. So there you go. I had to get the sensor cables repaired. I don't know if it's related to the headless fox on the drive. Anyway, should we talk running?
I mean, let's lighten the mood here and talk about your running right now.
I have been running. I've been up to the northeast of England to. Have you ever done the Great North Run?
Yes.
You have done it?
Yes.
You've done the Great North? So
years ago.
Yeah, so I went up and I was staying for work near where the Great North Run finishes. On the South Shields beach there. It's beautiful, like finish of the Great North Run. And around the coast, there's also a park run, South Shields Park Run. So I had a go at it. I ran the same course as the 5K park run. And I thought I'd tackle it as a royal flush. So I did each of the miles a little bit quicker than the last one. Because I'm gearing up, aren't I, for my 6 times a mile.
Right. But that's so impressive because I feel like even in some of our first episodes together, you were talking about wanting to run a royal flush again during these park runs, and you're doing it.
Well, it's a kind of fast little mile, the last bit. If you've done the Great North Run, you'll know that last run in down to the finish is pretty fast. So I managed
your legs and lungs still have to accomplish the task.
Managed to sneak under 6 minutes. I also had a dabble at the six times a mile session that I spoke about last time. I bottled it though, and I only did 5. I thought, I'm going to do 5 and then I'll try the next one next time. So
you're giving yourself something to strive for.
I am. Quit when I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Unlike the fox.
It is with a heavy heart that we talk about Rick Hoyt of the team Rick and Dick Hoyt, father and son duo that have been racing all over the globe together. And it was really heart-wrenching to read this past week that Dick passed away. The father passed away in 2021, but his son, who he pushed in a wheelchair from 1980 to 2014, they had completed 32 Boston marathons together. They've finished over 1,000 events together. The son, Rick Hoyt, has passed away this past week. And they have such a legacy that they have created with Team Hoyt and raising money for other father-child teams to accomplish these great feats together, really bond together over sport. And I think they even have a statue that was unveiled years ago at the starting line of the Boston Marathon in Hopkinton. And so they have really created a legacy. Longtime Boston Marathon race director Dave McGilvery said that they will truly miss Rick and his father, but they will never, ever forget the gift that they made all of us feel, and that they can all overcome obstacles and what we can accomplish together and do special things in our lives, have positive impacts on others as we accomplish these things together. Just a great tribute. Dave McGilvery, the race director, has praised them for years and been so grateful for what they have done. Such a legacy, but it will live on thanks to the strength that they have given so many teams over the years. I was fortunate enough earlier this year to give a talk at a Team Hoyt fundraiser in San Diego, and to see out in the audience the effect that they have had, the positive impact they've had on so many, was really inspiring.
Yeah, I remember you coming across videos of Rick and his father Dick doing Hawaii and Hawaii Ironman, and I just found it amazing the video of Dick swimming and he's kind of towing his son in a boat,
right?
And I was being inspired by that, and also coaching people. I used to think, what an incredible, pioneering, caring, way for a father to connect with a son and to say, no matter, in our lives, we can still do these things together. Like, it's fantastic. Fantastic. So, yeah.
And so groundbreaking, right?
Yeah,
because we take for granted that we get to see these inspiring stories unfold before our eyes, but they had to fight for a place on the starting line of all of these events. And they really paved the way in a big way for other families to follow.
Pioneering for including more diversity in sporting participation. So, yeah, we're very thankful to Dick and his son, Rick. Hey, Deena, moving on, did you know indoor athletics has a new name? So I've got to hold my hand up here. I've done some indoor. Have you ever done some indoor?
Yeah. I mean, despite being raised in California, I did go to school at the University of Arkansas. So I did have an indoor season there, or short track season.
Yeah, come on. Well, I did indoor. I actually medalled indoor at the 3As, which is our English National Championships, over 1,500 metres. I've still got a bronze medal knocking about somewhere from about 100 years ago.
Where is it? Is it in reach? Is your medal in reach?
Definitely not.
Not in reach.
No.
Okay.
But I used to like that feel of bouncing around on the indoor track, and I used to like the intimacy of being a little bit closer to the crowd, and a little bit more argy-bargy of the tightness of the stadium. And World Athletics has recently announced a change, actually, to the naming of indoor competitions. It's no longer, from November the 1st, it's no longer going to be called indoor athletics. It's now going to be called short track.
I know they're saying that this is because it's anything set on a 200-meter track. But when I first read that, I immediately thought of, are we going to now do short jumps and short put instead of shot put and long jump? But once I got into digesting this, because nobody really likes change this big, right? When I got into digesting it, because it's not just going to be indoor facilities, right? They're taking away the fact that we're going to be under a roof, and it really opens it up to just be a shorter track.
Exactly.
And I think I first mocked it in my head, but I think that this could be a brilliant way to broaden participation and get some more events going.
Well, I think the rationale is probably to create a short track spectacle. So, where can we do short track? Where in the globe would a short track, like a pop-up track? Because, of course, there aren't, unless I'm missing something, there aren't short tracks currently. So, unless they're inside, right? 200-meter track. So whether or not there'll be permanent short track venues, so shorter tracks, or whether you'll see pop-up tracks at new, exciting, kind of standalone city centre pop-up, short track, or iconic, venues. Like, I can kind of imagine one in Sydney's, like Sydney Harbour Bridge, in the Botanical Gardens, or, like a short track somewhere amazing in a global city.
Right.
So I guess there's a footfall, kind of putting an event somewhere where it wouldn't otherwise generate public attention and public engagement, which you could now do if this was the case.
Right. It reminds, like, if World Athletics actually owned a short track and just brought it to different cities and iconic places around the world, it reminds me of that festival feeling of like city vaults or street vaults, where they set up vaulting pits in the middle of a city center, and they have that. I love that energy in some of the events like that. So I think that this could be a really fun addition, and more competitive opportunities for runners around the globe.
Get your spikes back out, Deena.
I think I'm going to be an enthusiastic spectator at this point, but I do like the idea.
Well, something that is definitely not short track is the Comrades Marathon. You're speaking later on in the show to someone who has done Comrades 10 times. But Comrades this year is on June the 11th. It's coming up. It will be the 96th Comrades Marathon held in South Africa. It's a down run this year, totaling 87 kilometres. 87.7 kilometres, actually. I nearly misread that. I thought it was 87,000. That would have been a long way. Comrades, of course, is one of the world's biggest and arguably greatest ultra marathon runs, with some iconic performances in the past from the likes of Bruce Fordyce, a South African ultra running legend. You know, if you're a South African and you run, you know, the first question is a little bit like if you're a New Yorker and, you know, you run, or you live in London, it's have you done the marathon? Well, in South Africa, it's have you done Comrades?
Absolutely. And you have, Martin.
You
have run.
Yeah,
you did the uphill. Tell me what that experience was like.
I loved it. I really loved it. It's a long old way. I think it was 90K when I did it. It varies a little bit. So the principle is 1 year it goes, the courses alternate, and you go from Durban to Pietermaritzburg and vice versa. And so one route goes up and then the other goes down. And so you finish and start in different locations. We started in Durban. We finished around a cricket ground, I think, in Pietermaritzburg. I did it in 2011. I ran it with my friend Tom, actually, who we founded Marathon Talk together. And Tom went back and did it again.
Uphill. You ran the uphill.
Yeah, it's very, very rolling. It's got some iconic hills in it. Polly Shorts is the one I remember. You know, it's got some iconic hills in it. And of course, you know, it's a ultra marathon in South Africa. It's not like doing a big city marathon in Western Europe or in the US. You know, it's a different experience, and a magical one at that.
Was there a certain point in the race where you had to dig for something you weren't sure was within you? Did you have one of those moments?
Pretty much most of it. Yeah.
The whole run.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a great thing to do, but I'm you know, not a massive fan of ultra road marathon running, and yeah.
Did you get any blisters?
I don't think I got blisters, but I did definitely get like a really sore knee, which you have to work through. Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I learned about ultra running is, you know, really increased capacity to tolerate discomfort, and also that discomfort can come and go, you know, and it arrives and you can deal with it and then it leaves, and it does. Yeah, it really does, particularly when you're running marathon. One thing I did do though, Deena, was I always ran it in trainers, always wore shoes.
Oh, well, there is one runner this year, Graham Wells, who's planning to run Comrades barefoot to raise money for a project to build a shelter for homeless in Pietermaritzburg, where the race begins this year. So running this race barefoot, could you imagine? Definitely
not. Although, of course, you know, people do run barefoot, don't they, all the time? Yeah, Bruce Tuller, who is a British, he's passed now, but Bruce was an absolute icon of British running and marathon running. And Bruce was famous for running barefoot. Of course, Zola Budd,
right?
You know, another famous South African barefoot runner. So it's good to see that Graham Wells is doing it. It doesn't have the same sort of, you know, when you do London or something like that, there's this huge charity feel to it. Comrades can be quite serious. Like, people are running, you know?
Right. And it's more about like kind of like an inner purpose, an inner drive to go that distance. It's such a challenging course, a challenging distance, and it does seem to bring out a competitiveness in everyone.
Yes. Deena, moving on. Are you musical?
I am not. We have a piano in our house, but it has a lot of dust on it. Are you musical, Martin?
No. Can you play a musical instrument at all? No. Do you know? Neither can I. And it's one of the things that I wish I could do. I tried to learn the guitar when I turned 40.
Same.
And I wasn't very successful.
Because you get calluses on your fingertips. It gets so uncomfortable. That's where I stopped. I didn't want the calluses on my fingertips.
Well, I have some funny stories about learning guitar that I better tell you off air.
Is it simultaneous to your kids begging for headphones and noise-canceling headphones?
Just couldn't quite grasp it. I think part of the reason that I couldn't quite grasp it, and I don't know if this is normal behaviour, but the guitar teacher I had at the time filed my nails.
Oh, that seems a little intrusive.
Yeah, I didn't. You know, I was like, okay. I was trying to put myself in a situation where I felt I knew nothing about playing guitar, so I wanted to just immerse myself in the world of guitar playing. But yeah, I was rubbish. Anyway, Claire Langen, did the Salzburg Marathon recently. And then she played a flute and knocked out a rendition of Scotland the Brave as she approached the finish line. She didn't play it the whole way, which when I read this, I was a little bit disappointed about. I thought she was going to be like kind of Pied Piper, you know. I thought she was going to be flute playing for 26 miles. So to just whip it out like for the last bit and then play the flute.
I'm still impressed by this. Can you imagine how heavy that flute must have gotten over the miles? Like, I feel like that's cumbersome to be carrying the flute, first of all, but also the flute. I know this much is true. There is no resistance in a flute, no wind resistance. So it takes a lot of breath. It takes a lot of work to play. And so the fact that she played this beautiful and sophisticated song at the end of a marathon, I still think is really impressive.
Well, would have been much better if you pushed your piano around.
Well, I was thinking that like bands along the way, it's so enjoyable to, in the LA Marathon, when you go down Rodeo Drive, there's a gentleman playing the piano, as you enter Rodeo Drive, the iconic, shopping street in Beverly Hills. So I love to hear live music, but I think I would have been really touched and moved to hear her play Scotland the Brave at the finish line of a race. It was a beautiful story, uplifting story.
Okay, well, what about this one for uplifting? It's our final kind of strange and different story of the week this week. And I'm not sure where this is going to go, Deena, but a married husband and wife in Canada are trying to break a Guinness World Record at the Calgary Marathon for the fastest mixed couple to complete a marathon in handcuffs.
Oh,
now,
dear.
They've been married for 20 years. Megan and Rich McDonald have been married for 20 years. They need to break 3:43.17. Now, of course, this got me thinking. 3:43.17.
Could you do it?
I reckon. The challenge here is not could Deena and Andrew run 3:43.17 or could Martin and Liz run 3:43.17. It's could Martin and Liz be handcuffed together and survive a marathon distance. How do you feel about
I'm willing to say Liz won't even do it. Liz is like, I'm not even going to do it. She's going to say, I have records. I've been there. I don't need to be handcuffed to my husband for that amount of time.
she probably feels like she's been handcuffed to me for the past 25 years anyway. Right. She doesn't actually need to be physically handcuffed to me for any longer.
I'm willing to bet she won't even commit to a half marathon at this point, but I digress. I was thinking about this because when Andrew and I we're married for 20 years this September, and I do not want to celebrate in this way, it being handcuffed together, but I was thinking, could we do it? And not even necessarily in this fast time that they're looking to do. But Andrew used to be the one with all the patience. And after having our daughter Piper, I am now the one with all the patience, and he has lost his. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He won't ever hear this, I don't think. But he's the one that's lost his patience. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I hope their marriage survives 21 years after celebrating in this way. Good luck, Megan and Rich.
Hope they can go along at sub 343 pace. You probably don't want to talk, do you? I can't talk to Liz when I'm running. Liz doesn't talk to me anyway.
Luckily, if you're handcuffs, you just kind of like yank your hand if you want their attention or if you need them to slow down.
She does not want to talk to me when we're running. When Liz runs, she just wants to run. And I am just a hanger-on and a pest. She does not want to know. She just wants to get her in her own headspace. So
you guys got to celebrate your anniversaries in a different way than this.
Yeah.
But Megan and Rich are actually doing this for a good cause. They're not just trying to break a Guinness World Record, but they're raising funds for a charity that helps Canadians living with mitochondrial disease. And I actually looked this up because I was like, what does that mean? It sounds pretty important. But your mitochondria, when you have this disease, can't efficiently or effectively turn sugar or oxygen into energy. So can you imagine running a marathon without the efficiency of your body being able to, or your mitochondria being able to turn sugar and oxygen into energy. Hopefully their mitochondria is working well on race day as well as their patients, but raising money for a good cause. I love that people are using this sport time and time again to really raise awareness as well as funds. This episode's guest is an ultra runner from Brisbane, Australia. He's an Abbott World Marathon Major 6-star finisher and beginning to taper for the upcoming Comrades Marathon. In his own words, he's living the dream. In my words, he's unstoppable. I can't wait to learn from this ever-enduring Wayne Spies. Wayne, welcome to Marathon Talk.
Oh, Deena, thank you so much. And it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. And just to have a bit of chit chat with you is absolute magic. And I do appreciate your time.
If our listeners knew how hard we worked for this interview, crossing time zones and troubleshooting with technology, they would appreciate this conversation even more. But I was in Brisbane in 2000 for training camp for the Olympic Games, and it was so stunning there. We went to Steve Irwin's Australia Zoo and just ran on the very many beautiful trails around that area. You and your wife moved there from South Africa in 2000. What brought you to Australia?
Oh, it's just my wife and I were young and in love, and we loved traveling. And we basically wanted a new and a fresh start before we sort of had a family. And yeah, we decided to travel a bit. And we traveled, to a few different places. And yeah, we just ended up in Brisbane, and we fell in love with it immediately. And we just both clicked, and we knew this is where we want to.
It felt like home.
The rest of our life. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like it did that for my husband and I. We were newly in love at the time and said if we could live anywhere in the world besides Mammoth Lakes, California, where we currently live, it would be Australia. We absolutely loved it there. Not because it was beautiful and there were so many running trails, but because the people there were just simply amazing. So inviting. Uh-huh. And you're not in Brisbane right now. You're in a training camp. Tell our listeners where you are right now.
Yes. It's an exciting time. I'm absolutely excited. I'm currently in South Africa training for the Comrades Marathon, or should I say I'm in the taper phase now. I've been here for a few weeks, and the Comrades Marathon is in exactly 11 days' time on June 11 next Sunday. So yeah, I'm getting deep in preparation for it and excited and can't wait for the challenge.
Yeah, and Comrades is your thing. It's dubbed the ultimate human race. And what brings you to it? This is going to be your 11th?
Absolutely. I've completed 10. So obviously growing up here, Comrades, for those who aren't aware, is huge. It's an ultramarathon between two cities, Durban and Pietermaritzburg, and it alternates from year to year, one in one direction and then switches the next. And it's so huge. On average, it's 20,000 athletes that participate in it a year. It's the world's oldest and largest ultramarathon, and it's said that you're not a true distance runner until you've attempted the Comrades Marathon. I obviously started as a youngster, and I didn't enjoy it, Deena. That's the truth. I didn't enjoy it, obviously not knowing what I'm doing. It was just a dream to do it, and I always said someday I'd like to come back. And I'd love to have a real crack at it. And this is where I'm at the moment. Like I said to you prior to this, is that I'm living a dream that I'd sort of, as a young kid, said I want to fulfill sometime later in life.
Yeah. And so this year's race is from Pietermaritzburg to Durban, and it's a downhill. It is 3,827 feet or 1,166 meters of vertical descent. Do you run the races differently? Because you've run the uphill and the downhill version. Do you run them differently?
Absolutely. So they're two different events. And believe it or not, Deena, I actually enjoy the uphill. So running up, I actually enjoy that. I have struggled in the past coming down, but obviously over time, I've had to look into it and look at how I can strengthen my downhill running And that's why I'm currently in this camp. I'm basically coming to strengthen, get stronger. And I'm of the opinion that it's working. I'll tell you, obviously, after June 11, whether or not it was a success, but I'm quietly confident that I can achieve the goal and the outcome that I've obviously put in front of me.
Okay, so last year before Comrades, it was your 10th, and you wanted to get, I think your personal best before that was like 6 hours, 20 minutes, and you wanted to get closer to 6 hours, and you ran 6:01:33.
Absolutely.
So is this time around, are you trying to break 6 hours?
Deena, you are on the money. So my goal, and I said it to my beautiful wife, I said, love, if I can just break 6 hours is the goal. And for those of you who aren't aware, it's about 4 minutes a kilometer over that distance. And that's moving along. So I've trained for it, and I believe I'm confident that I'm strong enough. And I'm speaking to you, and I'll let the world know that I'm quietly confident that I'll break it this time.
This is why you are unstoppable. It is truly why you are unstoppable. I love that. I love that you're going for it. And I didn't know until doing research earlier this week that when you have run 10 Comrades, you get a green number, that your number is set for you for the rest of your running career. So your lucky number is 25035. I looked that up. And tell us some other things that makes Comrades so special, because there's a lot of little things in this race that really make it so iconic, not just the age of it and this green number. Tell us some of those other details.
Oh, Deena, for every single runner who's ran Comrades, they will tell you that once you've run Comrades, your life will never be the same. And even as a youngster, I'd run it. And like I said early on, I didn't enjoy it, but my life had changed. There was nothing that I believe I couldn't achieve after running Comrades because of the degree of difficulty. And every runner who's participated and everyone who's completed it will tell you exactly, and they will bear witness to what I've just said. Deena, whether you up front and you win the event or whether you're the last finisher, every single person in my eyes that completes the Comrades Marathon is an absolute legend, because it takes courage, it takes discipline, a huge amount of commitment just to get to the start line, let alone to finish it. But more than that, they call it the ultimate human race, because I can tell you several stories of seeing people, and even myself, helping fellow runners who struggled, especially in that last part, and where you have to obviously show what they call in Africa Ubuntu, which is a sort of a love and a concern for your fellow runner, and help them to the finish. I've had that personally, even up front in the pointy end of the event, where I saw a fellow runner fall down and collapse and give up, and I couldn't let them stay there, and I'd put them around my shoulder and help them to the nearest medic. And obviously that particular runner did finish the event, and today we're good mates, real good friends. But to the point is that it's a life-changing experience. And to your green number story, obviously once you complete 10 of these and you absolutely spot on again, you receive what they call a green number, which is a permanent number. So that number that I received last year at the event, it'll never change, and it'll always be mine. And the legacy, that interesting part is, obviously, even if I pass or later on in life, my young sons want to come back and perhaps use Dad's number and then run the Comrades, that's something that they could use and take on, and obviously continue that on. And so it's an absolute, the way they've, obviously put in the homework in terms of marketing and in terms of, to put it, the truth is, Deena, it almost becomes like an addiction, because you say, I have to get that green number. I have to get one Comrades, then I have to get two, then I have to get the green number. And it goes on to a double green, which is 20 and that sort of thing. But obviously that's not my goal, Deena, but it's certainly a tradition that lives well in terms of leaving legacy behind for others to say, man, you're an absolute legend. And like I explained to you, whether you do 1, 10, or 20 or 30, you're a legend in many, many runners' eyes.
Unbelievable. So I didn't know that you are actually retiring this number. Like, this number just stays with your family. Do your two sons run? Do they like sports?
Well, it's contrasting. I've got one son who's just finished high school, and he loves all sports, but he's played basketball, so he's off to the US to play basketball on a scholarship. And the youngest one is more an academic who just loves the books. And of course, my wife, as a school teacher, just loves to study, and he loves his books. So two different kids, but yeah, they I can tell you proudly that they're both real proud of dad and mum, because my wife is a does marathons too, and she's also a 6-star finisher as well. So we did that journey together. Yeah.
What a power couple. My goodness. So you spoke a little bit to the strength and the compassion that this race brings out in people. I was getting emotional as you were talking, which is no surprise for those who know me. I love to feel just heartwarmed by stories of heroicism. What do you think in this training buildup, what did you acquire? What strength did you work on that is going to be there for you when you need, is it Ubuntu? Is that what you said? When you need that
Yes.
extra force to get through it? Is there a mantra or something in your head that's going to get you through that moment?
Well, I think there's a few special moments, Deena. Like I said, I've got a beautiful, my family's not with me currently in this camp. They're back in Oz. But for me, I've always, and I'm not afraid to say it, I've always had a good first 2/3 of this particular race, and then I sort of struggled in that last third. So I've worked on both my endurance and my strength. And these phases, it took me the best part of a year to develop that. And the best part to doing that, Deena, is along that journey, I've adapted a much stronger mental aptitude, especially toward the pointy end where it becomes real struggle. And this time, I've had something special that was done by my family. I didn't realize my wife and my kids. Only when I got here, I bought a race shoe and obviously packed it all the way in my bag. My wife had it all packed. And when I got here, my wife and kids had inscribed something special on the base of the shoe. So from both my sons and my wife and my mum as well, something that really, when I looked at it, gee whiz, it gave me that motivation. And even as I'm talking to you now, it's sort of, I feel so emotional about it, but it gives me that drive to say, my son says, Dad, you're a legend. You can do it. And I know you're going to make me proud. And that's what's sort of, when it gets tough, just look down at those shoes and say, see, you can do it. You've got everyone behind you. When things happen in your life, and I believe, without going off the topic, is that you get seasons in life, and we all go through winter and through those difficult phases. But I'm almost like I said, when I explained to you earlier, living the dream is that I believe that season, without sounding like it's all about me, but I believe that season has come where it's all just coming together beautifully. And that's why I love my running and love my life, and just to be positive about everything. And that's why I said, looking down at those shoes, I know I've worked hard. I've been committed, and my commitment created that identity that says, hang on, Wayne, you can do this. You've got everyone behind you, and you've done this before. You've got the experience. So, yeah, let's get to that finish line.
Right. And I think when you're to see those shoes, or even just feel them on your feet when the going gets tough, knowing that your purpose is greater than just you. And you have been such a shining example of that. You got a lot of inspiration by the matriarchs in your family. I think it was your grandmother and your mom, who have been so supportive in molding kind of that warrior in you. Can you talk to what gifts they have given you to be able to persevere like you do?
Oh, like I said, Deena, I grew up as a youngster. Life wasn't easy. I lost my dad at a very young age. And as a result, my mum, I got a younger sister. My mum took us in to live with my grandmother. And she always, I wasn't aware of what was going on, but she always said, Wayne, life was awesome. You may go through difficult phases, but your season will come. And that's why I talk like that, is these sort of values, the value system that was embedded in me as a youngster, the same ones that I pass on to my kids. And it's exactly, that's why I love my wife so much, is that we're like from the same cloth. She's also been through lots of different phases in life. And together, when we met each other, Deena, as youngsters in school, we both said, living in South Africa, we both said, one day it'd be nice to run the New York Marathon. It would be nice to run all these different marathons. And we just we were dreaming, and we had nothing, but it's powerful when you believe in something and you dream. And that's why sorry, without sounding redundant, it's like living that dream. When it comes to pass, it's like you thank your creator above. And that's why when I talk to anyone, I say anything is possible if you just believe it. And that's why when you look at people like yourself, or others around there who've been there and done it before, you don't realize how much of an inspiration you are in what you do. And even if I've listened to, the Marathon Talk podcast just to get up to date with different things, and just there's so many inspiring stories from people of all walks of life, from faster runners to slower runners. Everyone has a story, and your story, you never know when that little story can inspire or spark something that's needed for someone at a specific season. And that's why I say what you guys are doing is phenomenal, just to share everyday people's experience with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think I pinch me all the time. I'm living the dream. I get to sit here and have these meaningful conversations that I know different people across the globe are going to be able to draw inspiration from you. And you've given back so much. I think at one point ran for Team World Vision. It's the largest non-government supplier of water in the world, aside from trying to combat poverty and malnourishment and starvation. What a great commitment to put those miles to work. And as you are back in your home country, do you have any plans to visit schools or family? Like, I just picture you sitting around the table with your family and just like feeding them, not just food, but like your wealth of knowledge. Do you have any plans while you're there?
Yeah, so absolutely. What I've actually done, I've been privileged enough to join. I'm part of it's an elite camp. So it's one of the sponsored basically teams that are here in South Africa. So I've joined them, and together we basically try and inspire the next generation and those up and coming, just by sharing everyday experiences and obviously how we've got to where we were and our little journey. And I'm privileged enough to be surrounded by guys who are so inspiring and sort of rub off on me in such a good way. And along with that, we, obviously, I'm in a very rural setting, and we're fortunate enough to mix amongst the locals and get to share all our experiences and everything that we have, that we've done along the way. So again, just a privileged position to be there. And like I said, just to share on, because that's what it's about. Running, I like running is, you can learn so much. You think you know so much, but you continue to learn. And inspiring is what's about, leaving a legacy that's going to be longing and lasting.
Right. And what a beautiful balance to take inspiration from all of those around you, but also feed them that same thing. What a great circle. It sounds like training camp's working just magically. Do you have a favorite ultra marathon workout? Is there something that gives you confidence or that you look forward to during the week?
Absolutely. So I've always loved the long run. The long run is my favorite of favorites. It's what I call my bread and butter. When I'm training for a standard marathon, I'll do what they call the traditional 20-mile, but I like to add a bit more, which is
of course you do.
The 40K. So when I'm training for a standard marathon, the 40K long run is my favorite. I can just zone out, whether it's going out for 20K and coming back on the same loop, just be with myself. And it's just, I'm sure you've had the experience where you feel sometimes that you're an out-of-body experience. You're just floating about there and going through things. And I know many people have said it to me all the time, because they say, Wayne, we think you're losing it, because you're always smiling and you're out there like it's just you. And it's just me in the world. And even, my kids have learned that Dad goes out 4:00 in the morning for a long run. And I like doing one in the middle of the week, but generally the weekend. And especially when I do my longer ones for ultras, I can go for 4 or 5 hours, just real easy running, where there's real, not much effort. You're just cruising along there, and you come back and you feel like $1 million, and most people think you're nuts. You just, the benefit that you're getting from it, but obviously also in terms of just how you feel. I feel alive after a long run. Obviously, a track session is totally different, Deena, where you're working out in an anaerobic state and you're smashing yourself. you just feel like, oh my goodness, I could throw up after that. But essentially, after a long run, you just feel like it's the best thing in the world.
Wayne, I'm going to summon you on my next long run. And because I can tell you there is very few occasions, if any, that I feel like $1 million after a long run. It's usually like 25 cents, but after an ice bath and a big meal, I might feel like $50, maybe. I don't know. Other than Comrades, are there any other ultra races that you feel drawn to?
The truth is, Deena, I obviously haven't done many other. I've done quite a few ultra distance events, but I've sort of been on my journey. I'm sort of been drawn to. I'm still loving the marathon, and it's the state of. I mean, the position that I find myself in is and I'm not getting away from your question, but it's because I'm sort of improving as I age. I know it's a weird thing, but I'm 50 years old. For those who aren't aware, and I've because I sort of picked up my running later on in life, after sort of forgetting about it. But once I'd obviously established myself and we had our family, I've just found these personal bests coming across all distances, and they seem to come every year. Like they've come from 2016 right up until this year. I'm still seeing them. So because of that, I'm still drawn to the marathon. And that's why I believe I have unfinished business on a personal level in trying to achieve a goal that I'd like to in the marathon. But in terms of your question for ultras, Comrades has still just been eating at me because I seem to enjoy it. And every time I put in a training block for Comrades, I seem to come back really strong when I go back to the standard marathon, which is obviously why I'm working towards my next goal, which is coming up in October in Chicago. So that's sort of why I'm not really. That's the only ultra that I'll do in the year, and I don't do many other than that. Yeah.
You seem to have found a sweet balance of like getting those marathons in, which make you more efficient for Comrades, and Comrades makes you stronger for your next marathon. So it seems like this cycle is working of marathon Comrades.
Absolutely.
Because I think in 2011 was your first marathon. Did you run like 2:30 or 3:30?
3:30. That was in New York. So that was 3:30. Yeah.
Your first marathon. And now you're down to 2:25. That's some serious shaving of time.
Spot on. And that came last year, Deena. Like I said, I've just sort of been enjoying a progressive improvement in the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm still working on that, and hopefully I can eclipse that in Chicago this year.
Right. So Gold Coast last year, you ran 2:25, and I feel that Chicago is a slightly faster course. So with your brilliant sub-6 hour Comrades Marathon coming up, it seems like you're setting yourself up for the age group championships in Chicago, the Abbott World Marathon Majors Wanda Age Group Challenge. You are sitting in third place, I think, right now. For that age group title, but with a good Chicago performance, you could move up to that shining spot. You and your wife did your 6-star journey together, and it was London in 2019 that you
absolutely
got your 6-star. Tell us what that moment was like, because I was surprised at what that felt like. Can you describe it?
Deena, again, without sounding again. Talking, my wife and I had sat down as youngsters and said, this is what we like to do. And then we'd forgotten about it. We'd had 2 beautiful kids. And then my wife tapped me on the shoulder when I turned 40 or something like that. And she said to me, it's time. We've got to go and, let's get to the bucket list and let's get back to it. And I said, my wife knows when I commit to something, I said to her, I'll only go back into running if I go and do this. But I then looked at her and I said to her, love, we've got to do this together because we're a great team and everything we do. And she looked at me, and it's funny enough, and here's another interesting story, is that my wife's name is Brahman, and Brahman always said to me, she was a chronic asthmatic and she couldn't run 2 kilometers. And I said to her, come on, you can do it. And I believed in her, and we worked together. So she come with me to New York, and I run that New York Marathon in 2011. And I remember she was a spectator watching along the way. And she honestly, just from watching all the everyday people finish I finished in 3.5 hours, but I'd gone and showered, and we come back and then we watched it together. And we sat there for about 6 or 7 hours, Deena, and she watched these people coming up to Central Park finishing. And she said, "What's wrong with me? There's everyday people. There's people who are blind. There's people who are all different shapes and sizes and colors." And she says, "I can do this." And she got inspired. And so obviously we started working together. And I said to her, "Come on, we'll get on this journey." And our first one together was Chicago a few years later. And we did that. And she completed, which was a second marathon at the time, but the first major one. And so obviously from there, we were hooked. We were addicted. And we attempted one each year. And we went and we moved on. And obviously, if you meet my wife, Deena, she's you think, I'm fairly quiet. My wife is, she's a social butterfly. She can talk. And that I keep telling her, because during the world majors, she'd talk along the way to everyone, and she's encouraging everyone. And, I said, "We've got to finish this thing." And, we got through there, to cut a long story short. And it was we got back to New York in 2018, and obviously did that together, where she completed her first one, my second one. And then we were on to our fifth star, and we knew that London was the next one coming the following. It was only a few months later, in April, and we finished that. And I remember on a personal level, I finished it, and I was so obviously proud of that. But I waited for my wife, who finished in about 5 hours, some change. And she came through, and we both just, we cried like kids. We were so emotional, because again, this dream was absolutely, at the time, was just something we spoke about. But when, Brahman, like I said, at school, when she was presented a medal, my sister had helped and basically put all these medals together, and showed kids and inspired kids, and said, anyone can do it. If we can do it, anyone can do it. And so as a couple, we were so privileged, Deena, because we were the second Australian couple to achieve it, and it meant so much. And even today, it's honestly one of the proudest things. When I look back at my wife, and the struggle she'd been through just to run 1 kilometer. I'm so proud of her, and I love her so much, because it just proves that anyone can do it. And along the way, it's just about inspiring others and catching fire. And I love what the World Majors have done with putting it all together, and that's that journey has just been absolutely phenomenal. And like I said, sorry, Deena, I keep saying it, living the dream is just, it's something that's something that just, you can do anything. You feel like superhuman after getting that medal. It's a special little concept that World Majors have come up with, for which I'm so grateful to.
Yeah. And the fact that you could share that journey with your wife made it extra special, from that first marathon you ran together in Chicago to culminating in London. I have to ask, and maybe you and your wife would have a different answer for this. And don't be timid in telling us which is your favorite, because everybody has a different one. It's not like there's a winner's circle over here. Do you have which one of those races was your favorite?
Okay, for me, hands down, Boston Marathon is my favorite. That's for me. Not just the energy of the crowd, not just it's just the track. I just love the track. Like, it's got hills that I'm not afraid of. It just was everything that I love. I've only done one, and I've said to my wife, I need to go back and have a real crack at Boston. I still feel I've unfinished business, just because that. I just love the energy. Secondly, and I can answer for my wife 100% hand on heart, she loves New York City Marathon. The reason why she loves New York is because of First Avenue. She's heard about First Avenue, but she went off. She said she actually took too much time in First Avenue because she was playing up with the crowds. And, she came off that bridge and she come down, and she says she wants to go back. So she wants to go back there. So,
or maybe she'll just sit on First Avenue for an hour, soaking it all in. You really do feel like a rock star right there. The crowds are unbelievable. Oh, that's so fun. So Boston and New York for both of you. Do you have a goal for your upcoming Chicago Marathon? Obviously you get to kick your feet up after Comrades for a little bit, but what's your goal for Chicago?
Absolutely. And I'm not afraid to say, a personal best, nothing but a personal best is on a personal level what I'm after. I believe I'm confident that I can break the 2:24 barrier. So I've obviously, I'm being coached now by a gentleman named Dave Adams. So obviously, once I'm rested and recovered from Comrades, that's the plan, is to go into a 12-week program. And I'm confident, Deena, I'm confident that I can achieve that and work specifically towards that goal with the training block that I've put in for this Comrades Marathon.
Wayne Spies, getting better with age. I love that. I am so excited to be cheering from a distance. You have gained a fan in me. I will be watching every step of the way, sending you that energy in that last third of the race when everyone seems to need it, but mine will be focused on you. And hopefully you'll have a lot of fans from our listeners as well. I'll also be cheering for you in Chicago, and maybe we'll have a celebratory slice of pizza afterwards.
Sounds good, Deena. You on? Absolutely. That's something I could be on. Well, thank you so much.
Godspeed at Comrades. Cheering for you, buddy.
Thank you, Deena.
Right, that's it for episode 18 of Marathon Talk. End of the show. Deena, how you doing? What's going on the next couple of weeks?
Oh, we're wrapping up the school year here, so it's starting to feel like summer, making those summer plans. So I'm super excited to just not have a schedule every day and be able to go explore and camp. It's also a busy time of year for Andrew and I. We're planning a youth camp, and we've got a mile race on the 4th of July that happens right before our hometown parade. So it's a busy time, but anything under the sun is enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to it.
So is that, couple of questions, is when you say you're planning a youth camp, is that an athletics camp?
Yeah, it's an athletics camp, but we do introduce a lot of running. We do hurdle work. We do long jump. We do some endurance running, sprint starts. And so it's really fun. It's about 50 children, and it's really a fun camp. Our relays are with water balloons. So we just do fun twists, trying to make a positive association with running for all the kids that come.
Yeah. What age?
It is 8 to 17 years old.
Oh, so, wow. That's quite, and do they stay over? Is it residential? Do they have is it one day?
It is just, it's a week long, but it's a couple hours in the morning. And what we want to do is let the parents drop their kids off at the track and get in their own workouts. So some parents meet up and go on bike rides together or go for runs together. It's just a chance for parents to get in their own routines while we've got their children running around.
That's cool, isn't it?
And the parents love it because their kids come home and just want to nap and relax. And
is that all local people to you, or do people travel? Is it?
It's majority local kids, but we surprisingly get kids from Arizona and Washington, mostly the West Coast, joining us. And it's a highlight for a lot of these kids because we really do teach teamwork, but also, again, just making sure that running has a positive association so that they continue to enjoy it as they get older. We're breeding people that love athletics and love to get out and move their bodies. And you do that work throughout the entire year. But for us, this is a very special week.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. I remember years ago, we used to host young athlete camps, like residential camps. We'd have a couple of hundred kids coming, and like endurance camps they used to be. And they'd come and run, learn training. And like Liz would talk to them about the Olympics and kind of inspiring. And some of them went on to achieve amazing things, whether they were, setting up like cancer charities, which some of them have done, revolving around running, or competing at international level. Just fantastic. Brilliant. Good for you. I am back in the sea swimming, which is epic because it's a little bit warmer. So no gloves now, like no, boots, and like it's getting nicer. We've got a little bit of a warm spell at the moment. So it's looking good. I'm back on my road bike. I'm back running. I'm going camping with the kids. So yeah, we're coming into summer season full on.
So active, but the water's not just getting warmer. You're probably adapting to it better too, right? Like you're not, like your feet don't get, I sometimes feel when I go in cold water, my feet get nauseous. Does that make sense? Like you have like a nauseousness in your feet. Do you ever get nauseous in your feet? You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I get cold feet, definitely.
Yeah.
Because the water's cold. And my fingers kind of lose ability to be able to swim, and when you swim, you're kind of trying to learn to hold the water and grab the water and pull on it, And so when your hand's really cold, my fingers tend to space out, which means that I can't do that very well. So technically I slow down. But yeah, with the sea getting warmer, soon it will be...
And you getting tougher.
Yes.
You getting tougher. So you're talking about that. You're talking about getting on your road bike, and you're definitely been committed to running your park run loops and your 6 by a mile that you have coming up to conquer. Is there another triathlon in your future?
No.
What?
Only for fun. Yeah, nothing competitive. I'll just maybe I'll do one later in the year for fun.
Okay.
But yeah. I'm going to ride, tell you what I am doing. Probably not sure if I'm doing it before we record next. I am going to ride Mont Ventoux, which I've never ridden, which is a very famous mountain in the Tour de France. I think it's been ridden something like 56 times. I've never ridden it.
Are you doing it with a group or by yourself?
I am doing it with a really great friend of mine who I've known for 30 years, who has a terminal brain tumor, and one of the things he on his bucket list is to go and ride Mont Ventoux. So
is he back on his bike?
Well, he will be riding Mont Ventoux. He will be riding Mont Ventoux. So it's going to be an emotional privilege to ride another mountain with him. I'm really, really looking forward to it. We're going to do that in a few weeks. He's just between treatments and he's had a major operation. The situation that you find yourself in life, sometimes you just have to face it, and he is facing it, and he's living with the cards he's been dealt for the moment, and he's had a big tough round of chemo, and he's got this little window where he's like, I've always wanted to do this, I've never done it, I want some friends to go with me, so we're coming. So that's one of the things we are doing.
I'm so thrilled to hear that he's got it in him. That he even just has it to look forward to, right? Because I feel like sometimes when we're in a hard place, we could just, all of our focus is on the struggle and the fight, and to have this beaming light, this joy, this bucket list moment to look forward to.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd drag him up if I needed to.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lovely ride. So that's it. Running, cycling, enjoying some sunshine. Whatever you're doing, enjoy the run, wherever it takes you.